you are nervous the entire time. This might be a hot take. Your child's health, your child's safety, and your child's sleep is more important. The most luxurious option might not be the best option when you have a toddler with you. Toddlers need to run out energy. Number 7 is one I am so passionate about. Otherwise, your kid is going to get burned out so quickly. You cannot be the best parent for your child if you're not taking care of yourself. A lot of people don't know this, but most airlines will let you check or carry on as much baby stuff as you want. And it cost me $15 and 8 hours of sanity. Be kind to yourself. You're doing better than you think you are. Welcome back to the How Is Your Trip podcast, where we unravel the world one interview at a time. Today, I am making my first and potentially only solo episode, which I'm really excited about, but I'm also really nervous about. So bear with me. I have my notes with me, ready to go. Today, we are talking about 12 tips while traveling with a toddler. So I just want to kind of explain why I even want to make this episode. First of all, I feel like a lot of people over time since I've had a son have asked me questions on how I travel with a toddler, why I travel with a toddler. A lot of it goes back to when he was even a baby. And so I want to help those moms, those parents, those dads that want to travel but might have some fears or some hesitancies in traveling with a toddler. It's harder. It's challenging. You really have to change your style of travel, which we'll talk about today, but it's definitely doable. I see a lot of people who love traveling that stop traveling once they have a child, and those are the people that I want to help. And so why me? Why am I the one that's bringing this to you today? I started thinking about who I could ask, talk about this content, and really, I think that I am very equipped to talk about it. So my son Beckham is almost 3 years old, and he's been to 13 states. He's been to 5 countries. He's been traveling on cars, planes, boats, trains. He's been on over 50 flights. He took his first flight when he was 7 weeks old. He took his first road trip when he was 6 weeks old. So this kid has been traveling a lot in his tiny little life. And so obviously I have played a big part of making sure that happens. So I do feel like I do have some ground to stand on. So I'd love to talk about that with you guys today. I do want to make a note that this is what works for us. This might not work for everyone. And if you disagree with some of the things I say today, that's okay. That's kind of the point of this, is that every kid is different. Every parent is different. And so I want to be able to provide some tips, and some of them might stick for you and some of them might not. And that's totally okay. I will also make the point that we only have one kid. So some of these points might help if you have multiple kids, and some of them might not. So take what applies to you and just leave the rest, or pass it along to another friend that it applies to. So I'd love to get started. Like I mentioned before, I do have my notes today, so I will be checking those out just a little bit as we go through this list of 12 tips to traveling with a toddler. Tip number 1 is packing. Packing is crucial. So if the kind of our guideline of, do we pack him with us? Do we bring his own suitcase? Our rule of thumb kind of is a week. So if the trip is under a week, we try to put his clothes, his toys, his, when he was a baby, formula, his snacks, we try to put all of that in our suitcase. If the trip is over a week, we've learned that it's just easier to try to keep his stuff separate from ours and pack in a separate suitcase. For carry-ons, it really depends on if I'm traveling alone or with my husband or other family members, on if I carry his carry-on or my own. So obviously we've had a diaper bag for the last 3 years. And if I can take that plus my carry-on, I try to. But that's only if I'm traveling with other people. If I'm traveling alone, I'm going to try to consolidate all of that into one bag, because I'm going to need my hands and not have a million bags with me to be able to travel with him. plus a bag. I know there's mixed opinions on traveling with your stroller, and it really does depend on what kind of trip you're going on. But I have found that it is so worth it to have your stroller with you, especially in those early months. I remember going on a trip pretty early on, and it was a pain lugging his stroller through the airport, but we were going to be somewhere for a week. And so it was so nice to have his stroller with us. At that time, I only had the Uppa Baby, which is really great for just everyday, day to day. It has all the convertible pieces to it. However, for travel, it was a really big pain. So we also have a travel stroller now that breaks down, and it can actually fit in the overhead bin on an airplane. And so that's really nice to have now that he doesn't need all the extra space that a baby might need. He really just needs it for those long haul walks or something like that. That's what we choose to travel with now. But I do personally think if it's going to be a decent long trip, I do think a stroller is worth it to take on the plane. I know that you can check it for free. I personally do not have that much faith in the airlines. If you do, then be my guest. Go ahead and check that. Most airlines, a lot of people don't know this, but most airlines will let you check or carry on as much baby stuff as you want for free. So they don't charge for bassinets, pack and plays, diaper bags, pump bags, anything like that. And so that's also kind of a way to get more luggage or more baggage in. I know sometimes in our stroller bag we might pack a couple extra sweatshirts as well. But that's a good tip that I didn't know until I became a mom, that airlines, for the most part, are pretty great about letting you bring all of that on for free. Earlier this year, we went to Norway and we got Beckham the Stoke Jet Kids suitcase that rolls, that you ride on, and then it turns into a bed on the airplane. And in theory, it was great. Honestly, even in the airport, it was great. Unfortunately, it was super expensive and broke our very first use. So we ended up returning it and getting a full refund. I love the product in general. Beckham rode it all through the airport or pulled it himself, which I was so impressed with because he was only 2.5 at the time. And then on the plane, just because it was broken, it didn't really turn into a bed well. Like all the screws were falling out. So I don't know what happened. I don't want to recommend the product because it did fall apart pretty easily, but maybe we just got one that didn't stay up well, because I really loved it overall. But for the cost, I was very disappointed in how quickly it fell apart. So that's everything on packing. Tip number 2, I would say, is distraction and newness. This is a tip I got from my mom when I first became a mom myself. Kids love distractions. They love newness. And so if you can just find little ways to keep them entertained and engaged by getting them something new, whether it's a new little piece of candy or a new little toy. I went to Dollar General before an 8-hour overnight flight with Beckham, and I got all kinds of snacks, all kinds of toys, stickers, Play-Doh, all these little things, and it cost me $15 and 8 hours of sanity. So it was definitely worth it to me. And then being strategic, don't give them all in hour one. You know, I kind of like would wait until he was kind of at its wit's end with one new toy, and then I would, try to slide another one in. But just trying to space those out and keep them engaged the entire flight really helped. We are a screen family. Sorry, but we do download new movies, new shows when we're flying, new games on his iPad. We do not let him use his iPad when we're not traveling. It's a strictly like travel device that we use in desperate times, but that is something that we try to also incorporate that newness into, to provide distractions for. Tip number 3 would be to involve your kid in the process. I believe that no matter how young your kid is, it is kind of fun to involve them in the process, and then they're more passionate about making it actually work. So I let Beckham roll his own suitcase through the airport. I let him give his passport to TSA. I let him pick out his own meals when we're traveling and we're at restaurants. We also do activities that are kid-based a lot of times. We don't only do that, but when we were in Norway, we went to playgrounds and we went to see animals. And, we're going on a trip in a few weeks and we're going to some kid friendly like farms and things like that. And so it's not all we incorporate into our travels when we are traveling as a family, but I want him to enjoy travel. And if we're only doing things that he doesn't enjoy, he's also been to like 25 different museums in Italy, things that he was not very interested in as a 2-year-old or as a 1-year-old at the time. So he does experience a lot of travel that is not kid incorporated, but he loves to travel because we have made it fun and we have made experiences just for him on travel. So I think incorporating your kids into the travel and not just dragging them along on your trip really makes a huge difference. Number 4 is to time your sleep. It is so nice for me to try to plan around a general idea of when he's going to be asleep, whether that's bedtime or nap time. We try to take overnight flights if they're long so that he's sleeping through most of the flight. Same with driving. We try to drive around his bedtime if we're going to be driving. We try to plan lunches during nap time so that he can sleep in his stroller. He's getting a little big for that one, but overall, we've gotten away with that for a really long time. But planning your life and your travel around their sleep will really save you a lot of sanity. I am also a big proponent of never waking a sleeping baby, but jet lag is real. And these little humans don't understand what is happening to their body. We barely understand what's happening to our body as an adult. So they definitely don't understand. So when we travel, I do try to push him through jet lag. When we were in London last year, he was exhausted and he fell asleep a couple hours before his bedtime. I let him get a little tiny nap in because I knew there was no way he was going to make it those last 3 hours if not. And then I woke him up and I felt really bad, but I knew he was not going to sleep through the night if I didn't wake him up. And I'm so glad I did. He got adjusted to the new sleep schedule way quicker than I did, way quicker than my husband did. And I do believe that it's because we made him stay up that first day. So I know it's not fun. I know your baby's probably going to be screaming like, what the heck is going on? Now, if it's a baby and they're sleeping all the time, let them sleep. But if they're old enough where they're only taking one nap or maybe 2 naps a day, I would really strongly encourage to try to get them onto a schedule quickly. Otherwise, your trip is going to be really, really difficult. Number 5 is to plan some you time on your vacation. Yes, your kid is important. Yes, you want them to have a great trip. And I promise you, even time away from you, they are going to have a great trip. Resorts oftentimes have childcare programs. Cruises oftentimes have childcare programs. We have taken a lot of trips where I have hired some kind of childcare, even if it's just for a few hours, and it makes such a big difference. If you're going somewhere where there's not childcare offered, then switch off with your spouse, switch off with a family member and get some you time. I know that even just an hour massage away from my kid on vacation can make such a difference and gets me rejuvenated. You cannot be the best parent for your child if you're not taking care of yourself first. So please make sure you are enjoying your vacation. You are taking time for you, whether that's a walk or an activity or yoga or whatever that is for you. Find that time and make it happen. It will make all the difference for your trip. Number 6 is to slow down, literally slow down. Walk slower, be patient, let your kid walk. I know it's so easy, especially when you are just trucking through a trip, to just pick up your toddler and just keep going. But I have found that when Beckham gets to walk, he gets to feel more empowered and more encouraged to enjoy the trip. Whereas when I'm carrying him, I just find that he just resorts back into more baby behaviors and ends up whining and complaining more. So if your kid is able, I strongly encourage you to just take the extra time and let them be a full human. And then also slow down in your itinerary. Do not cram it full. I am preaching to myself here. I love, if I'm not with my kid, every minute of a trip is planned. But when I am traveling with Beckham, I know there has to be breaks. I know there has to be nap times. There has to be downtime. Otherwise, your kid is going to get burned out so quickly on this trip, and then you're not going to make it to the end of the trip. Like, it's not going to be fun for them. It's not going to be fun for you. You're all going to be exhausted and annoyed. Just make the time to slow down. And I'm not saying don't do fun things. My husband and I have done some pretty wild things while traveling with Beckham. We've paraglided off a mountain, we've hiked behind waterfalls, and I'm well aware that that's because we've had family with us and we've been able to have that luxury to do those things together. But we also made time on those trips for Beckham. We also made time on those trips for downtime and rest time. So make sure you're finding a balance between go, 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 and resting for your toddler. Number 7 is one I am so passionate about. It is pick your battles. A battle you might pick at home might not be a battle you pick while you're traveling. We personally, this might be a hot take, we personally do not discipline on an airplane. Our kid is very polite. He is a very good kid. But if we are on an airplane with 200 other people, if he wants 100 gummy worms, we give him 100 gummy worms. We teach him how to be a respectful, kind individual off the plane and hope that it just translates onto the plane. That is not the time that you're going to catch us giving him a big life lesson. We want him to behave for us. We want him to behave for other people. And if that means spoiling him a little bit more than normal, then we just do it on the plane. And in general, on trips, we might not discipline for everything that we would discipline for back at home. Now, we do pick our battles, and a battle that we pick is you will always be kind to service workers. You will always be polite to anyone who is serving us while we are traveling of any sort. You will be kind, you will be grateful, you will be thankful and gracious, and you will be polite. That is something that we have instilled into him since he could understand thank you, and we will continue to enforce even when we're traveling. But that's because that's a battle that we choose to pick. A battle we don't pick while we're traveling. Beckham sometimes wants to wear the same outfit 3 days in a row, and it is just not a battle worth picking while we're traveling. If he wants to wear the same t-shirt, I don't care. I learned my lesson last year. We were at a very nice dinner while we were traveling, and I really wanted family photos beforehand. So I put him in a nice button down, nice pants, nice shoes, and he threw the biggest tantrum all through dinner. I didn't even get to finish my dinner. We definitely did not get any family pictures. And what was it worth? He should have just gone in his t-shirt that he had worn all day that he wanted to wear to dinner, and we would have gotten a great dinner. We still would have gotten beautiful family photos, and my toddler would have been happy. It was not worth the outfit. And so that was a battle I should not have picked. And moving forward, I do not plan on picking that battle anymore. Whatever my toddler wants to wear, he can wear. I don't care that badly. If you are happy and polite and respectful on our trip, wear whatever you want to wear. Number 8 is to be prepared to miss out. This was something that was really hard for me to accept at first because I am a yes man. I love to be a part of the move. And when Beckham was a baby, it was a lot easier to not miss out because he slept anywhere and his schedule was really flexible. As Beckham got older, it's been a life lesson that I've had to learn that it's okay to miss out and that your child's health, your child's safety, and your child's sleep is more important. So that might mean while all your friends or family are going out to a nice dinner or something later at night, you might have to miss out. We were in Italy with my whole family, and all of my siblings decided to go out one night, and we didn't get to go because we were the only one with a toddler that was sleeping. While some of my family was able to trek through all day and do activities all day, we would have to go back to the hotel to make sure that he had nap time. So you just have to be okay with not being at everything while you're traveling, especially if you're in groups and not everyone has kids with you. You have to just understand that that's part of traveling with a toddler. Number 9 is a fun one. So it's all about shifting your perspective with your credit card points and miles. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, you've listened to episode 2 with Mike Dodge. If you haven't, go back and check it out. It's all about travel hacking, using your points and miles to capitalize on flights and hotels and basically getting free travel. My family, we love to capitalize on the perks of our credit cards, and one of those is airport lounges. We take Beckham into airport lounges. For the most part, he understands how to act in there and behave. However, you have to remember he's still a toddler. Toddlers need to run out energy. Toddlers need to speak at some point. They can't just stay silent all day. So when I'm traveling with Beckham, I've kind of shifted what I see my perks on my credit card as. So one of my credit cards gives me access to 1 hour in Minute Suites. Minute Suites are basically little suites with just a bed and a TV and just a tiny little room. That's definitely not as nice as an airport lounge that has a ton of seating and free food and drinks, and some have spas, and it's not as luxurious as that. However, Beckham can run around in the Minute Suite while I lay my head down. So I've had to kind of shift my perspective of the most luxurious option might not be the best option when you have a toddler with you. And we're very grateful and thankful that we have an additional perk that allows us to still have a private space at the airport without annoying everyone in the airport lounge with our toddler. So it's just kind of finding that balance. We went on a trip where we spent 1 hour in the lounge, realized he needed to get his wiggles out, went around the airport, got some of our wiggles out, and then went to the Minute Suite for me to lay my head down while he watched TV. So you just got to find what works for you. And we found that sometimes the Minute Suites that we get with our credit card are better than taking him into the lounge. Number 10 has kind of been a theme over this entire episode, but it's to accept that your normal while traveling might be different than your normal at home. So for example, for us, we allow a lot more screen time while we're traveling than we do when we're home. Beckham's bedtime changes. It's usually later when we're traveling than it is at home. Or if there's a big time difference, whatever time he ends up landing on that first day or two, we just make that our bedtime. It might be different than what it is at home, and that's okay. We don't let Beckham sleep with us at home. And if he wants to sleep with us on a vacation, we may let him. We might allow a lot more desserts on a vacation. We're eating more desserts. Why would we not allow our toddler to eat more desserts as well? So just accepting that things are different on a vacation and that's okay is going to make your life a lot easier rather than trying to force your exact schedule, exact preferences, exact behaviors as when you're at home on a trip. That's a lot more difficult than just being a little bit more flexible and fluid and understanding with yourself and your toddler. Tip number 11 is to travel without your toddler. I know this whole episode is about traveling with your toddler, but you are going to be a better parent traveling with your toddler if you also travel without them. I love traveling with my toddler, but I don't know that I would love it as much if that was the only type of travel I do. I'm so blessed to have a great support system and be able to take trips without my toddler. where I can travel at a faster pace. I can travel for me and only do adult activities, so that when I am with my toddler, I'm much more gracious about slowing down, doing things for him, and just enjoying the time that I get with him on these vacations. So if you have the ability to travel without your toddler at some point, I encourage you to do it, because it makes that time with your toddler even more special when you get to travel with them. And the last tip, tip number 12, is to be gracious. Be gracious to yourself. Be gracious to your toddler, to your spouse, to anyone who might be traveling with you. I know if you've been on an airplane with your baby or your toddler, you are nervous the entire time. What if they scream? What if they annoy someone? And they might, and it's okay. Now that I get on flights and hear a baby scream, I'm like, that poor mom. And I guarantee you, anyone who has a child that is on that flight with you and your baby's the one crying, they're thinking the same thing. They're thinking, that poor mom. They're not thinking, that baby needs to stop crying. And if they are, then they probably have never traveled with a toddler. We were on a cruise and Beckham was in a lounge, in like a music lounge, and he was dancing and he annoyed a man. And honestly, I was so embarrassed. The man was not nice about it and wanted my child to leave the lounge. And we did. We respectfully left. And I was so upset at first, both with Beckham and myself, and just embarrassed. And I just had to remember, what this one random person thinks is not going to spoil my trip. My child was having fun. He wasn't being disrespectful to anyone. We chose to leave the scene because we just did not feel like it was the vibe anymore. But I had grace for myself and my child in that moment of, we were having fun, and everyone's travel experience is different. People regularly come up to me when I'm traveling and tell me how impressed they are that I'm traveling with my child. And it's so encouraging, because those times usually come in times where I'm exhausted, I'm discouraged, I am panicking that my child is not behaving. And so those moments of encouragement really, really get me through some of those hard times. So if you ever see a parent that looks like they might be struggling a little bit on a trip, maybe give them those extra words of encouragement. But make sure to give yourself those words of encouragement too. Be gracious, be kind to yourself. You're doing better than you think you are. And you're allowing your child to see some part of the world by traveling with you. And that makes it all so worth it. So I hope you took away a point, at least one, hopefully, of the 12 from this episode today. If you don't have a toddler yet, hopefully this was great prep for you for the future. And if you do have a toddler, I hope this encourages you to travel with them. I hope it helps you travel with them. I would love to know, either in the comments below or by emailing me at howwasyourtrippodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Please like, comment, subscribe. Also, this is the season finale of season 1 of How Is Your Trip? So we're going to be taking a little bit of a break. I'm super excited for season 2. It's going to be coming in a few months. More info to come on that. But thank you guys so much for listening to this season. It's been a blast. I've had so much fun filming it and talking to all these incredible people. But let me know what you guys want to see in season 2. I'd love to have all kinds of different conversations. So just let me know in the comments below. Love you guys. See you guys in season 2.